Hi everyone, this is Legends and Lore episode 10. Welcome so much, and I hope that we can come across and that audio is working. And yep, I'm Anna B. Meyer, and with me as usual is
This is Mike Bridges. Are we up to episode 10 already?
yep, we're up to episode 10, and this is the last episode of the season of this year. So yep,
10 episodes flew right by.
yep, and we cannot cancel one, so this should have been number 11, but we
Oh, okay.
canceled one. So
Wow.
yeah. Oh yeah, so this it's episode 10. Oh, and today's show is a little bit of a mishmash, but we have some different topics and content planned for, so to speak. So first, I want to ask Mike what he's been up to lately.
Well, let's see. Besides the usual, trying to
Yeah.
grind out my comic, Castle Greyhawk.
Yes, you released. Was that
That
the
has been.
final
No,
epi?
there's one more page. There's a final page that I'm working on. It's going to
Okay.
take a while.
Uh-huh.
Um, but I've also been working on trying to get my old Greyhawk comic strip back into circulation. The whole thing,
Yeah,
entirety of it.
I still want to see that soft
Yeah.
bound kind of or hard bound kind of thing of all of it.
Beyond that, I've been following some other Greyhawk stuff going on. Right now, competing with us, unfortunately, is Lord Gazumba's uh,
Yes.
stream. Uh,
I've been watching that too, and I was on it once, and it's awesome. So we next season we have to look into what time we will be on. So we
right.
will, yeah, we have to talk to Shane about that too.
No
So
overlap.
yeah, so
Right.
we can hopefully find a better slot that way.
And I've also been working on the blog Greyhawkery. Um, if you go on the blog, also check out a new Patreon started by our friend Carlos Leising.
Yes.
He's started a printing thing called Castle Printing.
Yeah, I'm going to put the
CASL.
link in the description
Okay.
in the chat here in a second. Yeah.
He does really good old school, like first edition adventures, and he also does a lot of them set in the world of Greyhawk.
Yep. So the link is now in the chat.
There you go.
Yep.
So yeah.
Yep, we wish him the best of luck, and it's awesome. And I was one of his early patron members, so yeah, so I pledged to it, and it's awesome. We're really looking forward to it. And he has some awesome artwork done and Fireland stuff and a whole bunch of other things. So yeah,
He's an aficionado of art. That's
yep,
for sure.
yep,
Yeah, it is Bavix. Check it out.
yep, definitely, yep.
Anyhow, as to the blog, one of the things I've written about recently is titled "Cold Things in Greyhawk,"
Yeah.
which is one of our topics here that we
Yep,
can
and it's kind of
riff about.
the season perfect for the season, so to speak. So yep.
Yeah.
So so what's
So
your
what started
oh
that?
yeah
Sorry, Anna.
yeah
Is there's a lot of cold themed places in the world of Greyhawk if you just kind of like start searching around the map. And so I kind of laid them all out in a list and wrote some stuff about it. For instance, if you want to get into it, um, when you think of cold places in the world of Greyhawk, what's just the first one that pops in your head?
For me it's black ice up in and
All
Blackmore.
right.
Those are
Yeah.
the kind of the northern really. Yeah.
Right. So the land of black ice, yeah, how can you miss it? It's a huge glacier
Yep.
area. Um, and it's one of the chief mysteries of the world of Greyhawk, I think. Uh, like, what caused it, what's under it, the strange things built around it, like the city of the gods. Um, how far north does it extend? And And then my personal wonder is, are there black icebergs floating out off the shore?
That's the interesting thing. Yeah, I'm showing it here now. I did a winter map some years ago, and this is a little bit of a haphazard because it's not that well researched. It was more like I wanted to see if I can winterize my existing map, and it's also based on the old edition. I'm going to one of the plans for to do next year once the new 2018 edition is out. I want to make this a more proper wintry map. But that's really interesting question.
Cool.
Is the black ice shelving off or calving it or calving is the I guess the term? Well,
Yeah,
yeah, black icebergs.
I'd have to think at some point, maybe to the north or
Yeah,
possibly to the west that it is. Maybe not so much on the east side, uh, but on the west side, it's bordering what they always say, the warm
warm
Atlantic
dramid.
Ocean.
Yeah, so that is like I imagine a
Yeah,
southern warm current coming up from the south along the west coast of the land of black
black
ice.
ice.
Yeah, and that kind of makes the ice kind of shelving off and calving so that will yeah so we have black icebergs. That's kind of cool. Yeah.
So yeah, like uh, hey, how do you pronounce that name? Tina Brafley, Tina Tina Brafey. Anyhow, like Ten says,
Yeah.
there's there's monsters in the land of black ice too.
Yes.
Black ice columns. I didn't think of that one, but
Oh yeah.
the blue bugbears is
Mm-hmm.
the famous one.
Yep.
Stuff like that.
And we have the winter wolf or the white wolf from
Yeah,
yeah from Greyhawk that has a breath weapon if I remember correctly. That's kind of very special wolves for Greyhawk or the Flannies up there.
hey, Mage and Sage, thanks for joining
Oh
us.
yes, awesome. Yep. Mm-hmm.
So we're talking about cold things, of course, and so when you see the land of black ice, the next obvious thing right next to it is the ICC, which
Yes. Mm-hmm.
is a huge area.
Yep. Yep. It's enormous. It's one of these really, and you have
Um,
that northern coast is kind of very wintry, and it's just on the 60-degree north latitude, or sorry, longitude. No, latitude. Sorry. So we have so it's and since Earth is tilted 30 degrees. Actual tilt. That means that in the wintertime, that's where the polar circle is. So
I
the
was about to ask you,
yeah.
how is the ICC a Arctic, like covers the whole northern part of the globe?
Yeah, it's the northern coast of the Flannies basically follows along the polar circle of Earth. So it is just where the north tip of Scandinavia or the northern coast of Alaska will be in the real world. So it is
Right.
cold tundra, frozen over in the winter, maybe not in the summer because it's down just at the polar circle, which means that the seasons are kind of more exaggerated
Hmm.
on Earth since it's more tilted. So the summers are
Right.
probably warmer and the winters are colder. So by winter it should freeze over like cold as hell up there on the whole coast, northern coast of the Flannies is probably very wintry and cold in the winter. So yeah.
Yeah, so the source material on the ICC talks about how it's icy all year round, except in the late summer
Uh-huh.
when it
Yeah.
breaks up a little,
Mm-hmm.
and that's when I think it gets even more dangerous
Yeah. Yeah.
because then you have the floating icebergs
Mm-hmm.
and the
Yeah.
foggy
Yeah.
condition.
And we also, since it's a fantasy world, we don't necessarily only need to go about geography and natural features. As it can also be enhancements that might not be, they would be a little bit like Antarctica. There's no warm streams coming in. It might be since it's closed off in the west, maybe, and
Uh,
so it's simply colder than it's supposed to be according to where it's placed. So it might be even worse. So that's why it only opens up a little bit in like maybe yeah a
I
couple of
really
months a
like that
year.
map. That map really makes the sea of dust kind of look small. when you think of the ICC as
Oh yeah, yeah. This is I
expansive,
just, yeah, I just made it so it was supposed to look like in the winter. So yep.
right?
So I wanted to, for this is something I did like 6 7 years ago for my own campaign. So now I need to take this and redo it with the new map and kind of research it a bit more. But I kind of like the look of it. You get the frozen over. And speaking of freezing over,
Yeah.
I took the parent land in this area here because I assume the parent land and the Lake Quag is higher up. It's more
Right.
high country, so that way I assume that. And I've heard
Okay.
somewhere, if I remember correctly, someone wrote, I'm not sure if this is canon or not, but that Lake Quag freezes over in the winter.
Seems
And
reasonable.
yeah, and that they actually use these kind of they put ice skates on boats, and they sail them fast, like
I like it.
going across. And I thought that was kind of fantasy, kind of
Yeah.
cool. So Lake Quag becomes this kind of, yeah, this it really freezes over in parent land and the uplands
Yeah.
around, because they're high up, and they also mountains all the way in the south, so they only open to the north, so to speak. So the
Yeah.
winters are kind of cool.
Awesome.
Yep.
Do we have any Minnesota people in the house?
Well, I'm from Sweden. That kind of counts winter-wise.
That's
So yeah,
close. Yeah.
I'm used to
Yeah.
to uh,
Yeah.
to severe winters. So the last winter I had in Sweden was like 3 months, and the temperature was never above freezing for a single minute. It was not even midday. It was below freezing the entire time.
I don't think the World of Grout has enough lakes for Minnesota.
That's true. And almost all around the normal world, it's so full of lakes up north that because it's usually quite rainy a lot of the season. So that's something we have when we detail. I was thinking, since all this snow and stuff, that the Bernal forest and stuff probably has a lot of small lakes and marshlands and
Oh, I
stuff
see.
tucked in. So
Yes, they're not marked.
exactly,
Okay. Yeah.
and so there are no real big ones, but if, it's anything that is below 10 miles doesn't really show up on
Sure.
Darlene's map. So we can make a lot of small lakes and rivers and creeks and stuff that are less than 10 miles. And it should show up on my map, but we probably need to go in and revise the northern areas a little bit in coming years here. So yeah.
So yeah, if you go ice fishing in the ICC, though,
Yeah.
yeah, you
Mm-hmm.
might end up being the bait.
Yeah, and I was thinking that, in what kind of creatures do we have? We have, of course, we have polar bears, we have a lot of the
Well,
seals and
yeah,
stuff
you
like
know
that.
from the resource maps
Hmm.
in the World Greyhawk box set that there's ivory and fur up
Yeah.
there.
Hmm. Yep, that's listed as one of the resources for that these countries, and that's why they have Big Seal Bay, for instance, is up here. And there's also this settlement up there that's probably the most isolated settlement in the whole of Flanese, is Jotsplat
Oh,
up
really?
here. Yeah.
Yeah, I would not have guessed that.
Yeah,
But
it's
yeah,
the most, and they are probably isolated 6 8 months of the year, and you can only go there by ship 2 months of the year. And I guess they probably go out hunting for ivory and these kind of
when they
organs
can.
of rare animals, whatever, and then they go south and sell them, and then come back again next year, and then you simply freeze over every year. And but thanks to magic, I guess they can stay warm a little
Yeah,
bit. And yeah, so I guess if you're a cleric or magic user, they can create fire and stuff. You're probably very useful to have up
ice
into.
barbarian life.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. So the Jotsplat is probably what I think the most isolated ever, because it's like 1,000 miles to the nearest town or in that. So they are really up isolated up there, except summer. Yep.
Yeah, so right, your icy monsters would definitely be the rite of passage
Yep.
around here.
Mm-hmm. And
Um,
Remoras we have. That's an interesting monster that is really kind of.
never really used those very
I've
much.
used them a couple of times when they've been up north, and it's one of these really kind of cool monsters that has some internal heat in it, and it's quite a nasty thing. It's a bit like a cross between a dragon and a centipede kind of thingy.
So yeah, we kind of touched some on the barbarian lands, which of course are all cold
Mm-hmm.
theme, ice, snow,
Yep.
frost. Um, Not really much to we need to go in on there because it's that place is like a topic on all onto its own.
Yeah.
Um, but I think one of the coolest cold places in the same vicinity we've already been talking is the cold marshes.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Because I want to know how many swamps and of that size are there in that climate in real life.
Both Canada and Siberia has plenty of them. So they are,
Really?
yeah, that
Okay.
type of, and Scandinavia has lot. They're not that big, but because Scandinavia
So
is
it
not.
is possible to
Oh
have a
yes,
cold marsh.
definitely. Look
Okay.
up the rivers that flow north in
Hmm.
In Russia. They have enormous expanse. So the only thing that is weird with the cold marshes is that the rivers flow south and not north. They don't flow, but that's that general flaw we've talked about several times in the design of most fantasy settings and Greyhawk in particular, is that every river seems to flow down on the paper, so to speak, not rather than up. So for me, it will be natural that the cold marshes will be fed from the mountains in the south, and then the thing would flow north out in the coast. But it's not. It's simply must be
Hmm.
fed by the rainfall up here, and then it flowing south for some reason. So yeah.
Right.
So but it's an enormous large area, and it cold marshes also, at least for a large part of the year in the summer, kind of tends, I think, kind of makes the divides the north into a west and an east, at least for a lot of animals and big animals and stuff, because
Suppose
they,
so. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
so there might be, especially like when it freezes over in the winter, then they can migrate left, east and west.
I never thought about the east-west divide. You're right.
Yeah.
That's what separates the wolf nomads from the rovers of the
Yeah,
barrens, for
yeah.
instance.
So for me, I
Yeah.
tend to. That's why you have a nomad culture, wolf and tiger nomads in the west, and you have the rovers of the barrens and others on the east. But also wildlife. It's probably different in the east and the
Mhm.
west because it's. But some of the big animals can probably migrate. They probably migrate south and can go over the rivers and stuff in the winter, especially. But in
I
the
always thought of
summer,
it as a north-south divide, but you're
yeah.
right. I think it's probably more of an east-west. You're
Yeah,
right.
yeah. Since the cold marshes is kind of a three, 400, 500 miles of marshland to get across. So an
Well,
adventuring party, it's kind of tough to go across it. And in the winter, it's probably tough not for being a marshy, but for being frozen over and snowy and simply desolate.
anyhow, as to the cold marsh information we have in
Yeah.
publication, it's an area where the mists in these marshes are very dangerous. There's magical effects and other fog related dangers.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's also just a lot of nice, icy, cold themed monsters as well,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
um, like ice toads, ice trolls. Um, a lot of this stuff uh, came from Theme Folio,
Yeah.
the old first edition
White
Theme Folio.
dragons too. Mm-hmm.
My favorite is the Frost Man. Do you remember the Frost
No,
Man?
I haven't even.
They look like normal humans,
Uh
but they
huh.
got like pale skin and they're wearing an eye patch. And behind that eye patch, they can shoot a cone of ice out of their eyeball. Don't know what the backstory is, but there you go.
Yep. And also they have placed some interesting thing. I'm looking at them here. There are
Yeah, there's
some.
a lot of locations in
Yeah,
there.
there's some called Folly Melted Fane, the Dungeon of the Bleeding Walls, and Annie's Lakes. To me, that sounds ominous. And the Lands of the Cursed Witch. And yeah, so and then you have the Tomb of Ygrek's Hands. That's another one of Gary's wordplay again. And the Tomb of Zunk's Hands. So yeah,
Zoom.
so that's an ice gate. So there are some kind of nasty places. Is I think one of them had beholders in it, if I remember correctly, up
I
there. So
don't
there's
really
yeah,
recall.
yeah. So there and
Uh,
yeah. Please go on.
Hi, Rook. The Rook just joined us.
Oh, hi, welcome.
And Dwayne's got a really good question, which we can uh,
Hmm.
veer off on, and that's do frost giants have a homeland in the Flannis?
That's interesting. They are depicted up in the barrier peaks and up in the crystal mists and up in the giants, so they seem to be up there too. But I don't think they have like a homeland. There's giant
Like there's
incursions.
not one area that they're most common.
Yeah, they seem to
Yeah,
be part of those giant adventures that was set in
yeah.
down in the Yatils and the Barrier Peaks and stuff. That's where they depicted, not up here in the north that much, which is kind of interesting. But
Now,
it's
if you go beyond the Darling map,
yeah,
then you could probably find some places
there
that
are
are
huge
suitable.
mountain ranges that even dwarf even the crystal mist, and the
Yeah,
Yatils are dwarfed by some of the biggest one, because the continent of Urik, this is just a fraction of it, maybe like 10% of the whole continent. So there is like 90% of the continent, and we're only talking the major continent, but there's so much area, and there are some mountain ranges that are more than 10,000 miles long, and there's plenty of place high up in snowy mountains where you can put frost giants and valleys and stuff that are huge. So there's yeah, there is a lot of cool places, literally cool, both literally and
right.
figuratively cool places that I think would be perfect homes for whole countries or realms run by frost giants. And fire giants too, if you put some volcanoes or something cool in there that they
All
make them
right,
feel at home.
but back to named cold areas.
Hmm.
Here's a nice curveball now for you that you probably wouldn't think of firsthand, and that is the city of Winter Shiven.
That's interesting. Let me zoom in the map on
And when
Wintershiven.
I was
Yeah,
yeah, when I was looking into it, I'm thinking, why is I've always known of
mm-hmm,
Winter Shiven, the
yeah,
capital of the theocracy of the Pale,
yep.
but I never really understood why it's called Winter Shiven.
It's from when I read it, is that it's described as a coal country, and when you look at my map, I'll zoom in it. I made it a bit more bluish,
I
cold,
can
because
imagine.
it was described as being cold. So theocracy of the pale, and I kind of took it both that is kind of high up. It's you have the Rakers, and
Hmm,
it's far away from the coast.
okay,
So it might be up
getting closer to these
yeah,
mountains.
exactly. It might be a high plateau comparatively, which will lower the temperature naturally. But then you have that they also run, it's a theocracy, so it might simply be a kind of a play with the fact that it's run by a religious elite, and it's
Hi,
run,
Brooke.
yeah,
Anyhow,
yeah.
Goon Taka wants to know why there is an old Winter Shiven, and I think what that is in the history is when they were still part of. I can't remember if they were part of Niron or if they were part of the Great Kingdom,
I think
but
that
when they
was
were
at
trying to
least
break
part of the
away,
Great Kingdom. Yeah,
yeah,
definitely.
burnt down to the ground, the whole thing,
Yeah.
and they
Mm-hmm.
just moved it over and
Yep.
rebuilt it.
Yeah. And they built it along the Yol River, probably for a reason, because it's that makes it opens it up a little bit for the outside world and trade and stuff. So yeah.
Yeah, so that's kind of interesting that they were
Yep. Mm-hmm. And
their
it's
capital was burnt to the ground.
yep. And it's one of these well organized countries that is not that much talked about, but it's an interesting country for many. And they can be used both for friendly purposes, but also as an adversary, a little bit as needed.
Yeah,
They can send out adventurers to
rival.
help them, but they can also be a pain in the ass. And if you want to run a bureaucracy adventure, I think that the
Mm.
Pale can be a perfect thing of getting entangled in religious politics and try to maneuver courts and all sorts of crap. So,
Thanks, Brian.
oh, awesome.
There you
Thank
go.
you. Yep. Mm-hmm. Perfect. We have experts in chat. That's wonderful. Yep.
Ooh, hey, good times is giving you a shout out for your maps in the chat. Also,
Okay.
your
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Beulah area maps,
Oh, yes. Oh, thank
all
you.
that
Thank you
stuff.
so much. That's wonderful. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so right, the Theocracy of the Pale is described as being very cold, and it has two seasons. It's It's got the cold season and the unbearably hot season.
Yeah, it's inland climate,
No
and
in between.
yeah, so yeah, they have that inland climate, and I can understand because they are really far. The only coastline they have close is over on the other side of the Rakers, and that and they're kind of shielding from that part. The other part, they're really far away. It's like 1,000 miles or more to the nearest
Mm,
coast. So they are one of the most landlocked realms of the Flanies that way. So it,
yeah, I
it
never
makes
thought of
perfect
that.
sense. So you have a high plateau far away
Cool.
from coasts. That means that makes perfect sense. It's cold in the winter, bitterly cold, and in the summer you have a few months of dry heat, so to speak. So yeah, it makes it. And then we have the other obvious kind of cold realms are the high mountains in that will be naturally cold, so to speak. Of course, we have the high mountains up in the north, and then I'm
They
thinking
called the
about the.
rakers because they like rake the clouds, or I mean,
Yes,
what is?
I'm not really sure why they're called the rakers, and now I realize that I've depicted them as kind of flat topped, but on the
Huh.
other hand, they should probably have been more kind of like this. But yeah, so I'm not really sure, but it might be that it is cloudy, so they're kind of sticking up in the clouds a lot of times. So yeah, they're not that much talked about. So yeah.
Well, if you go west
Mm-hmm.
from the Theocracy of the Pale into the Fellreave
Yeah.
Forest,
Mm-hmm.
there is a river.
Yeah, the beginning of the Artonsamai, I think.
Right.
Let's see here. Yeah, we have the Artonsamai that starts in Lake Akwal and then flows east and through the Bandit Kingdom. Is that the one?
Nope.
Okay. The Cold
You
River.
are looking for the Cold Run.
Ah, okay.
Cold
Yep.
Run.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yep.
Good job, Casey. The Cold Run. What do we know about the Cold Run? A run is, I'm going to assume, a rapid. Uh,
But the land is fairly flat. But there
is
might
it?
be, yeah, it is. There's a little bit of hills around the extension
What
of
if
the
it's
bluff
just
hills.
windy?
Yeah, exactly. It's windy and comes from the eastern bit of the plains up there, the barren plains, and then it kind of goes flows through the Fellry forest and into Artun Samai. Yep.
That's true. Or Draco would be an expert on the Cold Run.
Yes,
He's a Bandit
exactly. He's
Kingdom
the
guy.
expert of the area. Yep. Mm-hmm.
So yes, big fish. I surmise if there's big fish, then there's big fishermen, right? Are there giants out there like catching giant salmon?
Ah, that would be cool.
Um,
Yeah.
but it's a shallow river
Yeah, it's
also.
most flatland rivers tend to be shallow. It's when they go through mountain valleys and stuff that's when they get deep.
So I wonder if like living Greyhawk Bandit Kingdoms did anything significant with the Cold Run bugbears. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just one of them little details, but another cold location in the world of Greyhawk.
Yep.
Now for another fun one, if you go east, unless Casey's got more Cold Run lore for us, is to the east in the Audrey Forest is the Coldwood.
Okay.
Now, I don't know how many people in the chat know about the Coldwood. I suspect most of you, but it's kind of a more recent development since Carl Sargent era. So second edition. Ibid the Undying.
Yeah.
And what it
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
is,
I think it
right,
came
see
from,
that
yeah.
blue blotch
Mm-hmm.
there.
Yep. Yeah, I think it came from Even the Undying. I'm going
Right.
to hide
So
that
it's,
little. Hang on a second.
yeah.
Just going to hide artboard so it disappear. There was a white line. Sorry.
No,
So.
I completely forgot the location there, bitterness.
Mm-hmm.
That area is an old elven
Yep.
realm,
Mm-hmm.
city of summer stars and all that.
Yep.
And the prince of that city went mad, and he had one of them uh, artifact swords and just started slaughtering everything.
Mm-hmm.
And so they kind of had to shut the place down, as I recall.
Yep.
Darn a Korean. Smedger comes in with the name.
Yes. Oh, awesome. Yep. And there
So I don't
is
know if
one.
like the woods was cursed or something,
Yeah,
but
I'm not real sure, but that's the old elven capital
mhm,
of the elven empire of the Adri, or realm
mhm.
of the Adri. There is one other place, but we can continue here. But there's one other cool place just like that
Oh yeah,
that was introduced in the Living Greyhawk campaign. I'm not really sure about the backstory, but there is one more. But so let's head south a little bit here. Then,
south.
yep, yep,
Well,
southwest, and there
maybe
is
we have one that
one.
I missed then.
Yep, there's one area that was introduced in the Living Greyhawk that was basically some similar story of some spellcaster going astray and
Oh
getting
no, I do have.
overboard on yeah on
I
the
do know what you're talking about now.
yep,
Okay,
it's the little keep of Icespire here on yeah
Icespire.
yeah
All right.
in the western coast
Yeah.
of Alyssa,
Yeah.
and there you have the little cat. I forgot who did it, but someone went off stray there and created a frozen little piece there on the yeah.
Okay. Icespire. You can actually find in the archives on the Wizards of the Coast website. There's a
Oh,
whole mysterious places right up on it.
oh,
I believe by
cool.
Paul Luby or one of those
Yes.
guys.
Okay, cool. Yep.
And yeah, it's a cursed place. It's
Yep.
like, as you can imagine, ice. Everything
Mhm.
just gets iced up.
Yep.
And if you go in there, you're going to suffer the effects of the curse and all this stuff.
Yep.
And it's, right out there in the middle of a very temperate area.
Yeah, exactly.
It's
This is kind of
perpetually cold.
Mediterranean climate or
Yeah.
something like
And,
that.
but it's
So,
always cold there,
yep.
supernaturally.
Yep. So I depicted that with a white area around it a bit. So on my map, so Icespire. Yep. I read it like 6 years ago when I did it, but now it just
And it's a
struck me.
big area too.
Yeah, it's like I think it's said the next 20 miles or something like that around, if I remember, something like that. So I made it the peninsula there kind of over, it's snowy and stuff out to about 20 miles. And but I realized that the water probably warms from the outside, so you don't get
Mhm.
ice 20 miles out, but it is kind of there is
Could still
white. Yeah.
make it foggy.
Yeah, so it's foggy and frozen over and snowy and stuff the you closer you get
You
there.
think,
So
Michael? Guntaka brings up an interesting thing. He says when he thinks of ice, he thinks of Thurisdan.
oh,
And
that's a good idea. Yeah.
I've never done that, but it's true. He's
Yeah.
a god of
Yeah.
cold.
And you can have a frozen, yeah, frozen hellover, so to speak,
Yeah.
or the yeah.
Never thought of that.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
good idea. It's a good creative thing. Yep.
I mean, he's not like a winter god
Not
so
per
much.
se, but
It's
freezing
just
is
like
it's
dark and
yeah.
coldness.
And it's kind of interesting because there's like a cold hell, just like there's a warm hell, and at least in old Norse mythos, you always talked about the nether planes as being cold because then you're more afraid of freezing to death than being warm. So
That's true. The Forgotten Realm of Thursdan is just basically you freezing your butt off. You're
yeah.
right. You're right.
Yep.
But I guess it didn't technically fall on my cold theme, but it is a cold place. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
That's cool. So
But Icespire.
yeah. So that was
Uh,
my initial find where I can think of. Let's
hmm. I have a couple others, but
okay.
I could, we could move on, or
No, no, no. Please go on. We need to. This is the last of the
Okay.
season, so we don't
All
hold back
right.
here.
So
So
we'll just run through my entire list then.
yes, definitely. Yep.
Okay. If you head back north into the mountains of the Thelonian Peninsula in the Korusk Mountains, I don't
Okay.
know where,
Yeah.
but somewhere in there, um, is a place called the Hanging Glacier of Alizdran,
That
or
is
however you want to
new.
pronounce it.
I don't think I have that on my map. So we need
Oh,
to hang on a second. We have some. Yep. Yeah. Here it is. I
found it?
have it. Yeah, I have it. Yep.
Because I think it is
Yep.
marked.
Hanging Glacier of
Hanging
Alisterand. Yep.
Glacier.
Yep.
And this is one of them mysterious places that it's just like, what was the guy smoking when he came up with this place? It's
Yep.
very bizarre. Uh, it's called the Hanging Glacier because there's this waterfall or something like that. Or no, 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 it's a glacier hanging on the edge of a cliff. And when it breaks off, it shatters into all these shards of ice, but it
Ah.
just kind of hangs there,
Mm-hmm.
almost like a feather fall, you know. And so people who go there, who can find this place, can pluck these shards of ice, and they got like various magical properties.
Oh, that is cool.
That's the hook.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Uh-oh.
but there's a lot of ice monsters and
Yeah.
things there.
Yeah.
It's very dangerous.
So I almost gave Gary a heart attack. I'm kind of
Yeah, why is that?
I'm kind of worried here. So yeah. Mm-hmm. This is cool. Yep. So oh, that was an awesome found, and I'm so glad that I something I didn't miss. Yep. You see, when I put a lot of stuff in here that's years ago, so sometimes I forget about it, so I have to be reminded again. So yep. So
Ah,
that's
yeah, Goontak is right. The shards actually contain the monsters. So if you
oh
break them or melt them or whatever, it
oh
unleashes
that
these
so
ice
you can
creatures.
have them as a summoning monster to be handy to have or something.
And Saracenis is saying that it's tied to Telcher. It's mentioned that there's some kind of
Oh,
power behind it.
mm-hmm. So
One of the
Telsure is
other
the yep.
one of the other theories is that it's actually a barrier holding back a deity from another world, and they suggest Loviatar, the Finnish goddess, I
Ah,
believe.
okay, yeah.
Um, so whatever whatever your preference, it's a pretty cool place.
Mm-hmm.
You can develop or put your own spin on.
Yep.
And yeah, Carl Sargent, I think, came up with that.
And then we have
Yeah, Elizadran. That's the correct spelling.
yeah, yeah. I put it. I zoomed in so we could see. I think that's the correct. I'm kind of a bad typist, so and I do a lot of mistakes, but no one has outed me, so I think that's the correct one.
Yeah, yeah, it is.
Yep. And then we have there's wilderness tucked away up here in the north, and one of them is the Taival tundra. That is a huge
Ooh.
area up here that can be used for adventuring and stuff, at least in the summer. And then there's the some of the other ones here is the rock forest, and and
Huh.
and there's this area is huge. It's like a kingdom size.
Where's the Tyval tundra? What's that
It,
named from?
it's from the Living Greyhawk, I think. One of the
Okay, I
yeah,
like it.
yep, yeah, Taival Tundra. I liked it too, so I put it in there, and it wasn't named previously, so I put it in there. So, but and that is a huge area up north where you can have interesting wintry campaigns, and some of the other kind of forgotten places is the Sable Forest.
I
That
like
is
the
it,
signal forest.
yeah, it's here on the east coast that is can be full of things, and that's kind of a one of the northernmost forests that is kind of an interesting place you can make with something. And the other one is of course the rock forest, and this is a huge area. It's kingdom size area that is kind of tucked away here, and you can have Kelton as your sort of base, and then you can go on adventures
Ah,
into the rock
yep.
forest. So if you want to hide something up in the north in your campaign, the rock forest and the surrounding
Drop it in
lands
there.
is kind of yeah, they're hard to get to, they're really remote, and they are big enough that you can put almost anything up there. So these are some of the interesting stuff. And then of course we have the forlorn forest up here. That's the other kind of tundra land is up here in the north of the barren plains. You have the forlorn forest, and and then we have another cold area that is anything but cold in but it's up in the cold. It's the burning cliffs, and there's
Mm-hmm.
some sort of natural phenomena like gas coming out or something that makes them
Must
burn.
be
Yep.
natural gas.
Yep. So it's up there in waste. That's another interesting area. I had to make the whole
No,
this northern coast kind of
don't believe
cliffy
so.
and high because there's no rivers flowing that way, so I had to kind of raise it up quite a bit. So that's why there's not flat and no rivers coming out that way because they actually start here. So, yep.
No, Anna doesn't use MS Paint in Windows 95. I use a Windows 95 program, but not her.
No, I
No.
kind of skipped that. In 98, I switched from 95 to 98. Yep.
Um, yeah, I used to run a campaign up in the Philandrian Peninsula for a long time,
Uh-huh.
with all the Viking
Oh, yeah.
culture stuff, and it's one of my favorite areas. And back when I was doing it, I have half the info that I have today. So stuff like that tundra,
Yeah.
the Tyvolt tundra. I would love to revisit that someday.
Yeah, it's kind of
Yeah,
it's a huge area with a lot of emptiness, and also when I did the map now, I put the borders, so the ice the land of the Kruski, the ice barbarians, is basically this whole coastline, and it's so huge. But I will, at least on my own campaign map, I will remake it so it will, a lot of
yeah.
this area will be wilderness, not controlled by anyone, so to speak, because
Okay, I was going to say that that east coast of the peninsula is not ruled by anyone, or is it mostly snow barbarian?
well,
Or
the only settlement we know about is Glot down here, the city,
yeah,
that capital, and then it's basically, I simply assume that the southern area here is kind of inhabited, and there are some villages
so
and
it
small
is.
towns and stuff up
So
here.
ice barbarian.
Yeah,
Right, right, right,
but
right.
I think that going up north up here is probably not that populated. Now we're getting
Right.
really, because the population of ice barbarians is probably only a few thousand. It's not that much if you look at the listing. So once you populated Glot with a few thousand, there's not that many left, except for the town of Jotsplat, way up in the north here. So, and then you have the keepers. This is something that was introduced in Living
Keepers.
Greyhawk campaign, and they introduced a place that is called the Duckholder, and
Hmm.
it's and they the keepers, and this shield was something that was described in the Living Greyhawk adventures, and they made a little keep up here. And to me, it kind of makes sense to, if both, if you want to be as remote as possible, but they might have built it as a stopover place to go to Jotsplat, that you kind of wanted to stop over with your ships after a day or two, a couple of days of sailing. They can kind of stop over and go south again. So yeah, but they are
Uh,
kind of a, I don't know. There's come some sort of cult or sect up there. So from the Living Greyhawk campaign.
well, Guntaka, I don't know much about the Sagard series. I think there was some that involved the North, like Radek or
Yeah,
something.
yeah. And then we
Um,
have another hidden area that is not even named, and it's this island north of the Thilandrian Peninsula. That is on the, it's not on Darlene's map if I
yeah,
remember correctly, but it's on that
the
little
insect.
map from the Gazetteer, when
Oh, I
that
love
shows a
that
larger
island.
area. They have a little splotch up there.
There's got to be something on there.
Yeah, so it doesn't have a name in any of the official sources, and it's kind of cool. That thing is, it's kind of an interesting little place. I
That's
didn't.
where Telcher lives.
Yeah, good idea.
Yeah, he
Yep.
just kind of sits on an icy
Yep,
throne and
yep. And that will
looks
be
over everything.
frozen over like 10 months out of the year. It's frozen over, so you have to walk to it on
Yeah,
the
what
ice.
is the distance from the coast to that island? Good question,
Yeah,
Nebula.
we're going to find out. We zoom in, and I put the hexes on here, and we can count
All
hexes.
right.
So then we get the. I'm just gonna let my computer work. So we have 1, 2, 3, 10, probably about 160, 170 miles.
Shoo.
Yep, that's the
Nice.
yeah. So a bit under 200 miles. So it's handy to have the hex map at times.
Frost
So.
Barbarian Hawaii.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's perfect. Yep.
Yes, the ice giant penal colony.
Yep.
Ooh,
Yep.
badass.
Yep. And
Yeah.
speaking about islands, there is the Brink Islands here, east of the
To the
peninsula that juts out here. And that's another interesting. I think this
no
peninsula kind
question.
of stops the flow east-west of water and stuff, that makes the ICC more icy. But the Brink Islands are kind of interesting. I haven't depicted, but if we look at the winter map,
And that's part of the black ice, right?
Yes, exactly.
Sort
It's
of.
near to black ice. So if I depict it on the winter map, it will I depicted it as all frozen over up here. So
Man,
yeah. So
it's
that's
good stuff.
mm-hmm. Yep.
uh, yeah,
I
so that island's
Forgotten
is,
toys. Yep. Mm-hmm. That's that's really
uh,
cool.
yeah, a lot of good
Mm-hmm.
remote locations to develop.
Yep.
I only got one other cold location.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So shoot.
And I don't know if it'll be on your map. Maybe.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't checked. And that's the Ice Hand Plain. Do you know where
Hmm.
that's at?
No.
Does anyone know where that's at?
No, I'm not really sure. We'll see.
Greyhawk Scholars. Ice Hand Plain.
That sounds awesome.
You're in the right side of the map, Anna.
Okay. So
You
it's
go
on the
south.
western. We go south.
Yeah, southish.
Is it maybe up here in the Klutzbergs or
Nope.
no, not the
Further
Klutzberg.
south.
Further
Ah,
south.
I had a boy Bavix. Bavix chimes in first with the
Oh, I
Ives and
use.
Ives.
Oh, maybe we need to add
Mm-hmm.
that before this goes live. So,
It might
okay.
be on yours.
We'll see here. The ice
Yeah.
hand plane.
Yeah. Ice Hand Plain is off of the. Now, don't ask me exactly where it's at, but it's supposed to be off the side of the Road of Skulls. So
Okay.
wherever the Road of Skulls is, just kind
Yeah.
of all around next to it.
Yeah. Okay.
Um,
I don't think I have this, so we need
I want
to.
to say it's
Yep.
probably closer to the capital.
Uh-huh. So we go north here a
Could be
bit
wrong.
here. Yeah.
You don't have it?
The Long March, the
Oh, this
Northern
is
Skull.
eating her up, probably.
So yeah, so this
Yeah,
this is
it's
awesome. We have a new place to put on the map.
all
This is
right.
so cool.
Well, and if it didn't show on your map, there's a good reason for that. It's an encampment, 364 days of the year, and but one day of the year, it's like Ives' Burning Man, correct?
Cool.
Like Bavik says,
Oh.
all the big names, all the chiefs, all the priests, all the warlords, all the
Mm-hmm.
anyone who's anyone shows up to this pep rally, as I call it.
Ah, so it's okay. So it's
Attended
like
by Ives,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
and this big black ice hand appears overhead, and it points at each person, and he judges them. So it goes to all
Oh,
the
this
priests and
is
all the orcs
cool.
and all the
Yeah.
hobgoblins. He just points at each one of the leaders to judge their loyalty. Yeah,
So
this is an Eyes the Evil, correct?
cool. So then I missed it. So we need to. So
And if,
we will call it a site maybe or something like that. A large site. Yeah.
yes,
Mm-hmm.
it's like I said, it's just an encampment
Yeah.
that I guess swells
Yeah.
when a
So
bunch
should
of
it be
people
north
come.
of the Opik River, you think, or in like
Just
Ayu's
reference, I don't
mainland?
know. Just break out your Eyes the Evil maps. It might be marked on there.
Okay, definitely. So the ice hand plane. I need to make a note of this.
Um, yeah, Ice Hand Plain. My theory, of course, is that the whole the whole thing is one of Ayu's ruses. That the whole production with the hand and him disintegrating those who are unloyal and all that. It's all part of his
Mm-hmm.
showmanship. He's pulled big whoppers like this before,
Yeah.
illusions and things,
Mm-hmm.
and he does it just to keep his people in line.
Yeah.
If they don't show up to the ice hand plane that one day of the year, well, they're traitors or something.
Yep.
They have a
Okay.
good reason not to show up.
Yep. Oh, it's awesome. Yep.
And I imagine it's probably a very recent function too.
Yeah.
Like when I got out of the prison in Castle Greyhawk, he probably was like, okay, who's still loyal to me? Like a mob boss.
Yeah.
And
So
then
he
he
started like a
gets them
caucus
all
when they
together
rally up the.
and he kind of points around,
Mm-hmm. And
and
probably
makes
have
them,
some sort of speeches to yeah,
yeah,
and yell and
makes an
scream and
example of someone.
yeah.
Um, so I think it's a recent event,
Yep.
but the so this whole build up to this ice hand plane thing is that how do you use it as a DM, right? It only happens once a year, but every big name, every ruler in the Empire Eyes is there. That's how do you use that?
Yep.
Is it an opportunity for your players just to go loco and try to kill off every, is a big battle that you could break out
Hmm.
for high level characters?
Yep.
I don't know. How do you use that?
Yeah, but it sounds awesome. Now I just need to answer a question here. Saint
All
Michel,
right.
the Paladin, asked you if he be able to download this map, and yes,
Hmm.
you will. This map, the very map I'm using, will be available in this resolution. So yeah, so it will be available
Oh,
in PDF and JPEG and an online version at this resolution where you can read and see everything. And it will be available in a few days at December 16th. So that's yeah. So this is my weekend thing is to get this out in a few days for everybody. So my patrons have had it now for 3 months to play with the various versions leading up to this. Yep. So it will come. Yep. Very soon. Okay, so that was cool. So then
so
we have
that's
with
it.
yeah. That was it in
I
all.
If you can find any other cold locations that are actually in the publications and not just
Yeah.
Living Greyhawk, then
Yeah, to me, always the
I'm
howling hills up there north. I always felt like the coldest, but
like the
that's more not so
Howling
much temperate. Simply the
temperature.
yeah the north the winds kind of howl through the hills, and then all the horrible humanoids and stuff that lives there. So for me, that always felt like the coldest. Some of the yeah nasty places to go. So yeah
Good one, Bavix.
yeah
When did the Road of Skulls begin? That's a very good question because I would think something like that, given the materials, would take a long time to build.
Yeah, but a bunch of priests and a lot of slave labor and stuff, and being a
Yeah,
demigod might make
sure,
it
sure.
faster. Yeah,
But I'm saying just given the raw materials, you would need a long time to amass
yeah. You
enough
need to
skulls
kill.
and enough
Yeah,
things.
yeah.
I don't know. I could be wrong.
But I guess he might have started it out of Doraka immediately
Hmm.
when he was released from prison, and then kind of built it mile
And
after
it's
mile.
like still being constructed. They
Yeah.
keep extending it.
Yep. Yeah, on my map, it goes down to the camp of Tristan, and then it becomes like a normal road the
Of
rest of
course,
it.
it's paved in skulls. No,
Yeah, oh, exactly. It's paved in skulls, so you can kind of imagine that it gets paved further and further south to
I know it's
expand
not
this.
paved in skulls, but there's skulls at every interval,
Yeah, and he has these
and
kind of
that's a
poles along that
long
have the
road.
yeah the screaming skulls that on poles that with those special
Yeah.
spells that I use. That if you're
So,
not a devotee
right.
of I use or done something wrong, he can kind of attack you through the
So I
yeah
would say that the closer you are to the capital, the more those are human skulls, and then as you trail out, it's like, oh, we ran out of human skulls. Let's
yeah
start
so
using
yeah
orc
whatever yeah
skulls, and no, 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 no.
yeah
By the time you get to the Howling Hills, then it might be giant skulls.
yeah yep that's super cool.
Yeah, he
Okay.
needs he
Yep.
needs bones for his undead armies
Mm-hmm.
attacking
Yep.
Furiani anyway.
Yep. In my campaign, there is a stiff penalty if you hide a body somewhere, meaning everyone who
Oh,
dies need to be handed over. So the priest always scour the land for dead bodies, and if they can't
hmm.
find anyone, so every village have to contribute some dead bodies, and if they can't find anyone, they will simply go in and kill someone too, because that they need. It's part of their taxes is that it comes in bodies, literally in bodies, dead or alive doesn't matter. Then you have to hand over someone so to be killed or dead. So yeah, and to bury someone and so on. That's to deprive the empire of vital
Hmm.
resources in my campaign. Yep. Yep, started around 480, so he has
Whoops.
a couple of hundred years in my campaign to work on it. So, yep, yeah, corpse type. Yep, yep. So that was
Yeah.
a tour of some cold places that is for the December season leading up to Needfest. So, yep.
um. So what have you been else you've been working on here lately?
For me, the big thing lately has been my handout maps. and something that I've done wanted to do for a long time. I've been working now for like 20 years on doing a map that is realistic, so you can see what the land is looking like. Now I want to do the reverse of actually creating maps, what I would call handout maps, meaning maps that if your characters go to a big city and they want to buy a map from depicting a land, they wouldn't get something that looks like my regular map. So I wanted to create something that was like parchment like, something that the characters can
Complete, a
actually
little
buy.
rough.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
there's rough. So I've set up and tried to create a whole section. I'm going to hide and show the behind here. So I'm going to see if I can find the, I'm going to show in. So what I did was that I created a whole series of different maps in different styles. So I'm going to show off the Greyhawk area in a whole bunch of different styles. So I'll take them in the opposite order here. So let's see. We have the 17, 18. So the one of the obvious is to have just a straight parchment for a player version of the parchment. So it has all the things that players will see when they venture around, but no labels on it. So that's this is the kind of the Rolls Royce of the map. If you want to have show the players around and they can find their way around on a map that is simply for them. But there is also a GM version of this. So here is if they get a map that has all the labels on it, but still just parchment. So this is kind of the best of them. But then I wanted maps that really look like something you could get that is being used for years, and something that you have in that they can get somewhere. But
I could imagine printing off one of these and then like burning the edges.
yeah, yeah, and they come as PNGs
Oh.
with
Hmm.
edges that are like this. So if you use them in somewhere, so they're transparent edges around. So this is one version that is like a parchment that
Oh
is
yeah.
hard to read, and you have to kind of guess things a little bit, and it's something that has been used for a decade or two, and something that you might come around that might
Your
not
thing's
be
had some
accurate.
coffee spilled on
Yep. So it's kind of, yeah, it's a little bit blood here and there, and it's kind
it.
of, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
shaky. But then there's also the version that the King of Belvoir might have in his archives, or hanging on the wall as a partner thing, and then that will be the a map that is looks like, yeah, this is like print on canvas. It's a painted map on canvas that is kind of accurate and stylish. So this might be kind of a Rolls Royce
Oh, I can
version.
see the texture there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you can see the texture. Yeah, so it's kind of a map that is, you can read most of the names fairly good, but it's this one of these things that a map that is fit
Very
for a
cool.
king or a high priest or someone who wants to know their domain or their parish or something. So this is this style of map.
I've
And
actually tried to draw a map on canvas before, and that
yep,
ain't easy.
yep. So what I did, I took my map and actually put it on canvas and made it into to a drawing. So this one is also available as a player version without the lot of the stuff. And then there's the, if you want to have a less colorful version, a more kind of just, this is a version with more subdued colors and stuff, if you want to have it a little bit more parchment like. And then we have some of the other one here is that you can have like one that is done in charcoal.
Nice.
So you can simply have yeah, charcoal. This one is also available in a kind of a parchment version. This is the player version, but this one is almost devoid of detail. This is something that someone
It's
scribbled
very
down
rough.
using, yeah,
Yeah.
using a charcoal pen, so you can barely
Very
see the,
blurry.
yep,
Up close, I mean, it
yep.
looks blurry.
And then we have something that is more the something that might be printed on hide, or done burnt on hide, or something this way, that it's not very detailed at all, but it's kind of, you can roughly get something out of it. So that's another one that might be on leather or something. And then there's like variants of them. So here's another one that is more like just a parchment straight only. So if you just paint it black, so these, there will be
Very cool.
you can get the whole continent, and you will get so there will be 15 or so different styles, and they will of each area. So this is the Nirdiv area, and there will be different realms, and there will be the whole shebang in one big map if you want to. And then there's also if we go out handout maps here, we have
He's got 100 of them.
yeah. So there is also versions like this. That is something. This is like etched in copper. So if you just want a mysterious map
Ooh.
on a copper thing, and we have the
Mm.
here's
That's
another one that this is just the something that you can
a
say it's
landmass.
on the whole Flannies on stone or something. Uh, and here is the same one, a little bit more parchment like again, and different versions. And here's one simply painted on rock, like on granite, a granite wall map that you can etch in things on if you want to. And then there's different versions, and there's some of them that I kind of like better than others. Let's see. And this is one of my favorites. That this is some black you can just use and you can put things on and stuff. These are lower resolution, but they cover the whole continent, so you can get various versions of it. So I'm going to zoom out here,
Very
and
cool.
this is the rock version too. This is just painted on a rock wall, and this is black and white, so you can put it on top of whatever texture you want. And here's another one that shows the road network in like an old, very crickled kind of papyrus or paper version with the road network on.
I like
And
that one.
yep, so that will be like an old trader's map that you find in the pocket of someone who goes around.
That's
And
very cool because that's like looking at the veins
yeah,
and
mm-hmm.
a
Yep,
body or something.
yep. And here's another one. This is more the same map but in more kind of parchment version of it. And so
Vavix wants to know if you have a prison tat version.
no, I don't, but I haven't gone into that detail. But
Um,
these are available, so you can kind of paint on them, and you can
if I
put
ever go to prison, there will
yeah,
be a
yeah,
prison tat
mm-hmm,
version.
yep. That's
So I gotta play
kind of
Grok
cool.
somehow.
Yep. And let's see here, we have some yeah. So these are some of the relief maps, and then we have some more versions here. This one is kind of a cool one, kind of etched with ash and rust and stuff. So I try to make a myriad of different versions that you can put in paint or something and work on as a base for all sorts of cool things. So you find them on parchment, leather, stone walls, canvas, yeah, all stuff like that. So and so there's
Mm.
plenty of them, and they come, a lot of them come. Here is some player version again where you have the road network and stuff, but nothing else. And some
That
of
is
them
just
comes with all the
wild.
text on it and stuff. So yeah.
Very wild.
So that's the big thing that will come to my patrons this Christmas. They will get it in about a week's time. All of this version, there will be several hundred files all in all. So there will be hundreds or probably 200-300 different maps all in all,
Mm.
depicting various
That's great.
resolutions and so on. Yep. So that will come to my patrons this, and then it will be released for everybody for free on my website later this spring. And then the big thing for everybody this Christmas is that the map that we've been looking at, the 2018 edition of my Flannies map, will come alive for everybody on December 16th. So a few days from now, it will be available for download in JPEG and PDF version, and it will only be the whole thing first. And then when I've received more complaints about typos and things after the holidays, I will chop it up into all the different versions. There will be online versions. There will be 12-part versions. There will be yeah, all sorts of stuff. So that will be. And hang on a second. I'm going to show my
Goon, you're
yeah.
cracking me up.
Yep.
I imagine an IU's map would be um, from their perspective. So, like, you're looking south. So
Mm-hmm.
to them, south is the north. It's like reversed,
Ah, that's
and we're
interesting.
going
That's
towards.
that's cool. Then I need to yep. I need to turn that upside down. That's kind of yeah. That's kind of interesting. Yep. I don't know if do you think IUs want to be on top of things, meaning he will be over the
Mm,
rest of them, or yeah,
maybe.
yeah.
I don't
Mm-hmm.
know.
Yeah,
It's just
that's an
that was
interesting. Yeah, we need to think about. We need to find an I use projection where
I don't think he's too.
Doraka is the
I
middle
mean,
of it. Yeah.
yeah, he has a big empire, of course, but I don't think he's too interested in exploring what's behind him. He wants to go south,
Mm-hmm.
and so that's why I always imagine he wants to
Yeah, and
explore.
I think he will love the Mercator projection because that makes his empire look
Oh,
enormous. So
right.
so so yeah, and then the south will be smaller and smaller, so he will look like he has the bigger empire than. I haven't mapped Australia yet, Guntaka, but yeah, that's the real world. Yep, yep, yep. There's the
just like
cool
that.
upside down perspective. So yep. And the big thing this
Oh,
holiday
geez. Good
season.
job, Goon. How'd you do
Oh, that is awesome. That's so cool. That's knowing Twitch, be able to type in Twitch chat and all sorts of cool things. Yep. So the
that?
the
Oh,
the big
regular.
yeah the big thing for this holiday season are handout maps for my patrons, and then the 2018 edition of the map for everybody. But I'm also working on two things for next year that will be the main thing for next year. One is that I'm going to expand down Hepmona Land. So do
Hmm.
Hepmona Land in the same style that I've done the Flannies. That's the one of the main theme
Mm.
for next year. There's two main themes. One is to do Hepmona Land and expand down south, and the other one is to move in and do really detailed maps of the thing. And now I'm going to see if we can go in here and show some of the stuff that I'm working on. And it's the first area I'm going to use view and actually do the real 3D, and this is done in real 3D. So I'm going to render real quick, and it will take a few, just a little while to make it progress here. So yeah, so this is Lendor Isle, and this is just a couple of hours of painting the elevation and stuff. But it will be real 3D, and it will be all the stuff that you can really have it in full 3D. So yeah, so that's the next thing. So Hepmona Land, and then start working on areas in full 3D. That's the main things for next year. So
Very nice.
yep. So that's the main two things, and now I have all the tools to do it. So it's been kind of quite a while to get there, but it's so if I do this and we make this bigger, so we then you can actually go in and kind of control the camera a bit here, so we can.
Hey, thanks for the kudos. I'm sure Anna uh, appreciates helping your campaign out, Gribbly.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Exactly. That's what I want to do with the maps. Is that I want to make the visual tools for games, for Greyhawk games, better. Yep. That's the goal. So I'm so glad when I hear people can use my maps and it makes the games better. So yep.
I think an unsung uh, reason for your maps isn't necessarily that it's not hard to find a map of the world of Greyhawk at all. It's that you brought all the sources together
Yep.
in one spot.
Yeah. I want the maps to be more than. I want them to be information. Give you all the information you need as a GM in one go. Everything that can be on the map should be there, so to speak. And I
And then
also
you can
want it.
start removing things that you
Yeah.
don't.
Yep.
Yeah.
And one of the other things is that there is uh, my Illustrator file that I'm showing maps of here will also be on my website. So if you have Illustrator, you can actually download the source file and make your own version of it. And they are licensed using the Creative Commons um, by NC license, which means that you have the
Hmm.
license to, as long as you're not selling the map,
Right.
and you give me credit, you can share it, you can alter it, you can make your own version of the Flannies and post that on your website using my maps. So without paying me a penny. That's the idea. So because I want my maps to be printed, shared, altered, used, so to speak. That's the whole idea. And one of the goals next year is to oh yeah, thank you, Bavix. Yeah. So one of the other goal with next year is to find better ways of presenting the information so it will be easier for people to make their own versions of it. Right now, you basically need an illustrator or Illustrator, and Illustrator costs a lot of money. It's not cheap, and it's also difficult to learn. So one of the things I will try and look into next year is to see if I can make the map in various other versions that you can more easily edit yourself. And one of them is to put them in GIS format, because then there is a GIS client that is called QGIS that is open source. It doesn't cost a penny. And that's one of the ways, because that opens up a new whole realm of possibilities. Plus, the program to actually tweak the map
Oh, wow.
into whatever is free, so it doesn't cost a penny. You can use your version of it, and you can add your data on top, and you can hide the bits and paint over the ugly bits easy, so to speak. So yes, they have editable layers, but the problem is, Gontaka, right now is that you need an Illustrator license in order to
Yeah.
use it. But that's something I want to. Inkscape, Fantasy, Campaign Cartographer, Otherworld Mapper. I'm looking into a whole bunch of options. So in the future, because now thanks to my patrons, I can now devote real time to it. So one of the projects for next year is to make the maps more accessible, meaning editable, so most people, without investing a lot of money or an enormous amount of knowledge and skill, that you should be able to tweak the maps to suit your campaign. That's one of the goals next year. So there's three goals: Hepmona Land, start
Mhm.
doing more detailed 3D maps,
Mhm.
and also make the maps more accessible. That's the goal for next year. And then I have some really cool goals for 2020, but we'll wait for them for next season. Yeah.
Oh, I think you'll succeed fine. Yeah, so
Yes,
people are
historic
very
maps.
interested.
Yep.
Yeah,
And one of
historic
the
maps is
yeah,
what I'm into.
yeah, and one of the that we showed on the previous show. If you go back, I think 2 episodes when I've talked about spread maps and you can paint in stuff, they are also available from my website, ghmaps.net, where you can download them, and you can use GIMP or
Start
Photoshop,
playing.
and you can start painting in where the realm of whatever country, when, like, if you
I want to
run.
do maps with big arrows
Yeah,
and stuff going
yep,
across
you
them.
can do all sorts of stuff and easily paint on top of them, so to speak. Yes, yeah, Ryan Glade. Yeah, time to save Rossies and the Great Kingdom. So yep, yep. So that's what I'm up to at the moment, is to get the handout maps out and to get my 2018 edition that has been thoroughly reworked. I've edited the terrain, and I've added a couple of hundred new places, and now there will be one more.
One more.
Yeah, one more.
Always one more.
Yeah, always one more. So there will be a yearly edition. So I will update my map base yearly, and then it will stay fixed for like a year, and then we will update it again. So yeah. So
So,
any more questions and stuff? Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
everyone's really.
Gary has Anna needs to invent end user map format map files. Yes, and GIS is the first step into that, because then there could be shape files of different things like the road network and stuff, and you can also date things. So if it only appears up to a certain date, you can put that in, and then you can have a slider saying I will only want to show things before 500 common year, for instance, if that's or 572. So that's another way of actually dating things on the map too. So, and meta information, you can put in population levels of each town, and then automatically you can see how many lives in a Nyrond, for instance, by simply adding up all the towns and the villages and stuff. So there's a whole bunch of meta information that becomes available. And my end goal, but now we're talking a decade into the future, is that I want to use game engines to put this data and the map into a game engine and make like a map application that you can actually put your towns and villages and draw your roads and stuff on it on your that's the ultimate goal. And I'm working steadily towards trying to. So I'm learning the stuff, and I'm finding people to help with. And now when I have the Patreon platform, I can actually sit and devote daytime to do this. So yeah, so soon my patrons kind of pay me for half time to work on it. So I work about a third of my time on it. So it's kind of fun. Yep.
Incredible.
Yep, the good trade route map. That's very high on my list, and that's one of the main
Yeah,
reasons I did
I
the
would love
spread
to have
maps.
a sea-based
Yeah.
trade
Mm-hmm.
route.
Yep.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
since the different resources that nations trade are both in the Living Greyhawk Gazetteer and the older Gazetteer and setting books, they list that different resources like various metals and foodstuffs and whatever it is, hides, ivory, and so on. And I want to be able to put these so you can actually see where things are traded by arrows and
Mhm.
stuff. So yeah, that was one of the reasons I did the spread maps. So you can download the spread map kit and simply create different colors for different resources and then paint arrows or how you want to depict it, so to speak.
Yeah, I might actually do something like that for if I ever pick up my Sea Princes campaign again,
Yeah.
because you know, there's a lot of exploring to be done, a lot of trade.
Thank you so much, Gary. That's very good. So yeah, I want to be able to do this for a long time. Yep.
Right, man. Okay, so
Mhm.
we're past the first hour of the
Yep.
show.
Yep.
Let's jump into a new topic,
Yep.
um, which is dragons.
Yes. We have to have.
If any
We
of
haven't
you,
talked much about dragons, but
um,
it's a must. We can't have a D&D based show without talking about dragons.
dragons,
Yep.
Dungeons and Dragons. Um, if you go to canonfire.com, there's a link on the front page of Dragons of Greyhawk, and or any of the wiki entries. Anyhow, there's a somewhat, I wouldn't say it's comprehensive, but it was fairly comprehensive list of all the canon and fan and mentions of dragons in the world of Greyhawk. And as I was kind of referencing it, I use that page a lot for my campaigns. I'm realizing that the world of Greyhawk isn't really heavy in dragon lore, uh, named dragons and whatnot. Um, there are exceptions, and it has its unique things. Like Greyhawk dragons are very unique to the campaign, but they're usually in disguise as other races. Um, if you try to, yeah, it's very thin. If you try to just like list, and I think this would be the easiest way to do the topic, with chat is let's just take every color or metal type of dragon and let's just try to figure out, come to a consensus, what is the most popular dragon, named dragon of that type.
Yep.
So we'll start off the obvious, red.
Yes.
What is the most popular red dragon in the world of Greyhawk?
Is it Brasimal the Bright, maybe?
Rhineglade threw out Brazimal right off the
Yeah.
bat.
Yep.
Dragotha is technically red, I think, yeah. But we'll let Dragotha have Undead Dragon.
Exactly. Yeah, because she's kind of
That's Dragotha.
she's a special category. But
Okay.
in many ways, Dragatha
Oh,
is the most infamous dragon of Greyhawk, I think.
yeah, Brazimal's kind of hard to beat.
Yep.
Uh, yeah, Gribbly's right. Turned up in the Age of Worms, and the Age of Worms actually featured a lot of dragons in it. And I think that Dragons of Garruk list needs updated for Age of Worms. But yeah, so Brazimal's a big one. In Treasures of Greyhawk, there's a really big red dragon in that. Sulfa Cetizus.
Yeah. The names of Sulfa
Yeah,
Cetisis. Yep.
Sulfa.
Yep.
And then in Grek Ruins, there's a big red dragon called Farkloon. But yeah, Brazimal the Bright is epic. That's always one of the, besides Turgotha, it's always one of the first dragons I think of in the World of Greyhawk.
Yep.
Now we'll take a step down from there. What's the most popular blue dragon in the World of Greyhawk?
Yeah, I've only had one in my campaign, and it wasn't even a canon one. It was one that I actually invented. So, but I don't.
Ribley's onto it.
Okay. Ah, yes, we have the bright desert. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Volt. So Volt, as far as I can find, is really the only named blue dragon of any significance in Greyhawk lore. Um, and it's in a good location. Probably got a good backstory. Uh, I've used
I
Volt
don't
in my
have his
campaign.
lair. Is that
I think Volt lives in Dagger Rock.
okay.
I could be wrong.
Mm-hmm. Yep, he lives here in Daggerrock. That's one of these
Living
locations I
Dark
want to
one.
map in 3D because these things that kind of sticks out or
Yeah.
makes holes and stuff there kind of. Mm-hmm.
I don't know, Ryan Glade. You know what? For being a comic person, I don't have the D&D comics. Can you believe that? Might have to do that someday.
Are they on YouTube or are they not?
No, comic books.
Oh, comic. Sorry,
Comic.
comic books.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But okay, Saracens agrees it's Dagger Rock. But he originally came from the West. Right,
And
right, right.
Living Greyhawk killed him with Robilar. Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, it was bound to
Damn.
happen, I guess.
Okay. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, yeah, Volt, well known name. A lot of, it's kind of an easy one to pick out.
Yeah.
Now, next down the line, what's the biggest named green dragon in the world of Greyhawk?
There's one that comes to mind that I forgot the name of. Hang on a second.
Anyone can chat can think of one. Good luck, because I don't think there's a green dragon in canon
There is
publication.
exactly. There is
Green.
one green dragon in canon, but it's not named, I think. And that is
They're
the
just of locations. The green
yeah,
dragon of
exactly in the Nolly Forest. And I I
Saint
named
Michael.
yeah, I named him Rothkor in my campaign. I don't and thing is, I'm not sure if this is something I came up with or if it's something that someone else came
Yeah.
up with. But
Saint
in
Michael's is Costa Clorinus.
yes, exactly.
Is that in the book? Or was that?
That's from Living Greyhawk.
Ah,
Yes,
okay.
and it's up here. But this one that I named Rothkor, I'm not really sure if it's that one is from the saga or the artifact of evil. When Gord comes have
Hmm.
that chariot and he flies, and there's a green dragon coming
Hmm.
from gnarly Welkwood area and
So
attacks him.
marvelous.
Yes, and I don't think he was named, but I named him Rothkor in my campaign,
Yeah.
and that's
See, that's disappointing because I like green dragons. I've
yeah.
probably
Mm-hmm.
created several
Yep.
myself in home campaigns,
Yep.
and I think
Yep.
they're only second to red dragons.
Yep.
There
So
could be
so I
more.
yeah I put that red dragon that is from Artifact of Evil,
I
and it's
know
even depicted.
Robilar has green dragons.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
That's on a shield, for instance.
Yeah,
So
that's true. Yeah.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't know if they have names.
Yeah. So these are the two green dragons, and Caustoclorinus is from Living Greyhawk campaign, if I remember
Okay.
correctly, and the one I named Rothkor is from the artifact of evil. That is the
Okay.
second book that Gary wrote, and that it comes up to attack him, Gord and his
Cool.
follower when they fly past. So yeah. Oh, there's a great green dragon in Dreadwood. That's
See,
true.
that's the one that's on my list.
Ah, okay,
And this
cool.
is from Cannon Fire Orth Journal, and
Ah,
that's Aramanthan.
oh, yeah. I think I have the layer down here somewhere, if I remember correctly. Yep, it's down here. I'm zooming in here, so yep.
So yeah, a lot of these dragons that you'll find on Cannon Fire are made by fans of the community or Living Gurk or wherever.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But if all you were using was like the first and second edition books, Gygax stuff and Carl Sargent stuff, there's not a whole lot of
Yep. There's it.
dragon
Yeah,
information.
dragon is kind of it's sparse with dragons in Greyhawk. Yep. That
And then now just to throw this out, a little quicker, like name a black or white dragon that's named in the World of Greyhawk.
I don't know a black dragon that is named. No.
Yeah, I think there are some. but
Yeah.
white dragon, I definitely can't find any.
No, and they're
Black
kind of
dragon,
animalistic. They're not that smart. They're kind of the dumbest
uh,
of all the dragons, so
sure.
so they might not have names that way. I don't know. They might not be
Yeah,
able to
they
speak
don't live
properly.
long enough to.
Exactly. They might not. Yeah. So that way. But in my camp,
Vivek
yeah.
says there's one in the Nat Marsh.
Oh,
And
yeah.
who
There's a
knows?
black dragon, I think, in the Nat Marsh.
Yeah, I don't doubt that the World of Greyhawk has a sizable population of dragons in most of your major terrain areas, but
Yep.
named ones.
Yep.
Hmm. Yes, I knew Robilar had green dragons. I didn't know he had three of them,
Oh.
but I'm wondering if they were named or not.
Yeah.
Anyhow, the black dragon, one of them that I spotted the name for on that list is named Quagmire. Not surprisingly. So maybe that's the Nat Marsh one. I don't know.
That might be. Yeah. And do you know the source for it?
I'd have to go on the site and look, but
Okay.
Quagmire was one that I
Hang on a
found.
second. Let me see if I can find him in the list here.
Goon, I don't really remember all the dragons in Age of Worms. There was a lot of them, uh, but those need to be added to the list someday.
Yeah. Quagmire. It's from Scarlet Brotherhood. So he's canon.
Scarlet Brotherhood.
Yep.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
and Quagmire is supposed to live in Pelisso Swamp.
Oh, so right there on Hepmonoland continent.
Yes, yep. So we
Yeah, it's
have
about
to,
as remote as you can get.
yep. So we have to go down way
Good job,
south
Wrangler.
here. Yep.
Uh,
Oh,
yeah, there's all kinds of dragons in or in around Castle Greyhawk, Greyhawk Ruins,
hmm.
etc.
So that's another one to put in here. So I'm going to, yep. This is great to have this. I'm going to do this.
All right, now let's jump over to the good dragons. Does anyone have any gold dragons of note in the World of Greyhawk? I can only find reference to one, and I really know nothing about it. So if anyone knows stuff about gold dragons of note, I am keen to hear.
Yep. For me in my campaign, we've used the Bahamut's seven helpers. One of them live in
Ah,
Greyhawk in my campaign. Yep.
yeah, right. Bahamut and Tiamat, very well known, very notable. But then after that, yeah, these dragons don't live long enough to gain any reputation themselves. Quite Keep had a gold dragon.
Ah.
Anyhow, there's a gold dragon I read about called Aruma.
Yes. Yep. I
A
know where the
U
yep.
R U M A. I don't
In
know
I know where. I'm
what
getting it.
source that
Yeah,
is.
it's in Granwood Forests.
Okay, in the east.
Yep. She I think she comes from the here, but she is. I don't think she has a lair.
Hmm.
She's kind of a free roaming, lives like as a ranger. That's her elven or half elven
Cool.
or human ranger. That's her thing, and she's one of the good forces, and she's lined up with other good forces in the neighborhood. But I think she roams in the Granwood Forest, if I remember correctly. She played a little bit of a tiny role in my Alyssa campaign that I ran, and
Hmm.
she's part of even the Undying. That's where I think she's mentioned, Aruma.
Cool.
Yep.
Smedger brings up a very good thing that the Onwall Peninsula is the birthplace of many dragons, and then they would go and
Ah,
the Mars Peninsula is a dragon graveyard. I really love that concept,
that is cool. Yep. Mm-hmm.
especially when you consider that the Mars Peninsula is the de facto home for the Earth dragon.
That's an
Which is a big,
interesting story. Now you have to
yeah.
fill me in on the Earth
I don't
Dragon
know if that's
because
tied together or not, but
yeah. But please fill me in on the Earth
uh,
Dragon story a bit because when we
I
talk
don't
about
really know much about the Earth Dragon.
yeah, because
I'm
I
inclined
haven't
to think it's elemental.
okay,
More,
yeah, because I haven't
yeah,
used it in my I've stayed away from it in my campaign, but it's been a mainstay
yeah.
of Greyhawk thing through the many modules and stuff. So yeah.
I think it's more of a elemental force of nature and not so much
Uh-huh.
a dragon.
Okay. Yeah.
Just that the cult built around it, maybe.
Mm-hmm. Because
worships it
is
as a dragon.
that's something, see, from what I remember, is tied to the Pomarsh and some of that, or is it more
Yeah,
widespread than
I
that?
think it literally lives under the mountains there. You know,
Okay, so yeah, mm-hmm.
Flan God
Yeah, you
breed
have
dragon.
Worms Jaws Mountains. That's kind of an interesting
Hmm.
name that might tie into it. I'm zooming in here on the map a bit here, so yeah. We have Drachenkopf, that if you translate it from German or whatever come, that means kind of a dragon tip or dragon peak.
Yeah. Um,
And Flamen that's kind of a,
Flan.
yeah,
So gold dragon. Now try to name a silver dragon. Until Age of Worms came along, I couldn't think of one.
yeah. I don't think
And
it's, yeah. So
the
it came around when
yeah,
in
in Age of Worms there is a silver dragon named Lashana. At least I think that's the dragon's name.
yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and I can't even remember the backstory on this dragon to tell you the truth, but you would think there would be other silver dragons.
Yeah, I've had plenty
From
of them in my campaign because I
yeah,
love silver dragons, but that's just
uh,
me. So yeah.
who knows?
Oh, she's a vampire. Wow.
Yeah, there's a twist on them.
Okay.
Yeah, so we have one silver dragon of note, and it's evil. Casey, the if you just go to the front page
I
of
put
the
the
Cannon
link in
Fire,
the I posted the
and
link
it's on
in
the
the,
left.
yep, I posted the link in chat. So
Oh, that's right. Caius corrupted her. Goon, you must have played through that whole thing. Hmm.
oh, the rod of 7 parts. That's kind of interesting. Yeah.
So gold and silver, of course, are supposed to be the most intelligent, of that species of good dragon, and have
Mm-hmm.
names and whatnot.
Yeah.
But I think you would have an easier time finding copper or bronze dragons that are named in the World of Greyhawk.
Yeah.
Um, Although the only one I can think of off the top of my head is Kolonok, which is from early Greyhawk, I believe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Copper Dragon.
Yeah.
And losing my voice. Of course, like someone mentioned before, all the Greyhawk dragons.
Yeah, we have Greyhawk dragons that are
They're
kind of
named.
unique to Greyhawk, that is very human-centric dragons. They
And of course,
yeah.
they would be named
Mm-hmm.
because they interact with, civilization.
Yeah, and they live as regular people around, and then they can transform into dragons.
Um, well, Wrangler, I think you might be thinking of a Greyhawk dragon. I could be wrong. Check the list.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you so just roaming around, that's kind of the gist of it, that it's really hard to come up with notable named dragons.
Yeah.
Of course, then there's Shadow Dragons, my favorite
Oh
variety.
yes, that's the favorite. Yeah. So
Yeah.
what do we have any named shadow dragons from canon?
Yeah, there's a few on that list if you check it out.
I
My
remember now. Yep.
my favorites from Five Shall Be One.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Severin, the Shadow Dragon. There's a really cool
So where
drawing
is
on.
he from?
This would be the location.
Yeah.
I'm
Do
kind
we?
of. I want to say it's the um, hills up there near Stonefist,
Ah, okay. So it's mm-hmm.
Rovers, somewhere in there. I'm. I don't know. Someone can answer that one for me because I'm drawing a blank. But that's the whole point of it is of that adventure. You need Dream Singer to start this whole quest, and I think Severin is the one that guards this.
I need to put more dragon
Treasure.
layers on my map. Apparently, I need to
Bluff
look
Hills.
at
Thanks,
that
Casey.
list. Yep. Layers in the
Thanks,
Bluff
guys.
Hills. Okay. Hang
Yeah,
on a second. We
yeah.
go down to the Bluff Hills
So
and
somewhere in there.
And yeah, I don't have a dragon here, so we need to look into that. Okay. Yeah.
Oh yeah, shadow dragons and the night below. I would guess so. And then we know, yeah, he ain't doing gemstone dragons, Gary. Although there's an amethyst dragon, I think in Pomage, but that's all I know.
Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, there's some canon history on the Sul Empire where there was a lot of red dragons in the hell furnaces, and they were somehow transformed into shadow dragons. Is the way
Mm-hmm.
the lore goes.
Was that part of the cataclysm that they became shadow dragons?
I don't know if that was pre or post cataclysm.
Mm-hmm.
I think I want to say it's pre
Yeah.
cataclysm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I'm reading what Gary's writing
Yeah,
here. Yeah.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. I mean, there are so many different varieties of dragon,
Mm-hmm.
to name. And then there's like fairy dragons and pseudo dragons and dragon turtles, like
Yeah.
in the
Mm-hmm.
Backlash lands.
Yeah, and other
There's so
dragon
many.
kin and stuff. Yeah. And fairy dragons, one of my other favorite
Oh
little
yeah.
creatures that are simply awesome.
So I would almost say the smaller and more insignificant the dragon, the more likely it is to have a name
Hmm.
in Greyhawk publication.
And then we have Dragotha. You have to tell a little bit about Dragotha, the most
The
infamous
Dragatha is
dragon.
right there on the map in White Plume Mountain.
Yes.
Dragatha
Hmm.
up to the north point.
Yep. Yep.
And Dragatha was like what, some kind of servant of Tiamat, and somehow was given unlife after death or something. I
Hmm.
don't know the whole story.
Me neither. Not the whole story, but she's some kind of Dracolish undead kind of dragon.
Yeah.
Hmm.
All I remember is when they had Dragotha in Age of Worms. I ran that adventure for my friends, and almost at the very end, like maybe the penultimate issue, you fight uh, Dragotha, and then my friends, oh, we got all this treasure, and uh, then when the adventure path ended, we never played those characters again, so they never got to spend a single dime of Dragotha treasure.
And they killed her or got the treasure at least?
Well, yeah, they beat the entire adventure,
Oh,
but
wow.
it
Hmm.
ended.
Yep.
That storyline was ended, and we
Hmm.
never played those characters again, so they never
Yep.
got to use that treasure.
Oh, that.
Sorry.
Yep. That's kind
And
of cool.
Ragdoll's
Yep.
right. Dragotha is female or male? I'm inclined to say
Female.
female. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I always envisioned her as female, but on the other hand, I always envisioned the most vicious dragons as female, just like the raptors. In real world, the females are the dangerous ones, the big ones, the bigger ones, because they lay eggs. So I simply assume that dragons are the same way, that the female dragons are bigger because they lay eggs.
Male consort of Tiamat. Well,
Ah,
see, yeah, Tiamat's female.
yeah.
Male. Yeah,
I
I don't
guess
know,
she's
guys.
she's undead and or lich, so she can be either
That don't
way.
matter now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it doesn't really matter much now, but yeah.
Hmm.
Hmm. That's
Well,
good. Yep.
yeah, I don't know if we have a definitive answer on that.
Yep. That's one of the things that you can tweak either way. So what other dragons have you used in your
Okay, how
campaigns?
about thumbs up or down? Cobb Darg is a dragon.
Hmm.
I don't. My opinion is thumbs
Yeah,
down.
I will say yeah, I would say thumbs down on that one too.
Yeah,
Yep. Hmm.
but
McAfee fan art.
uh,
I'm not sure. I know what McAfee
uh,
is. Yep.
and I'm talking about Anne McCaffrey, the shoot, what was that called? Dragons of Pern,
Okay.
Dragon Riders of Pern, or something like
Hmm. I'm not that good at painting dragons and stuff, so we'll
So
see.
there is
Yep.
a white dragon named in Against the Giants.
Oh, okay.
Good job. Why isn't that on the list though? I thought those guys did their homework on
Yeah,
Canon
but you
Fire.
see that's yeah, you can work on this for years and
Hmm.
years and years and years and still miss
Right,
something.
right,
So,
right.
yep. And you and me, we know that as good as anyone because we've
Mm.
done it for years and still we
I
come
only
up with things.
I only remember Dragon Rares of Pern from the ads in Dragon Magazine.
Ah.
Brought that in.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's really cool. Yeah, what other dragons have you used in your campaigns that you
um,
invented?
well,
So,
there's a one of our Cannon Fire scholars, Razgon.
mm-hmm.
I believe it was Razgon. I'm going to say it's Razgon. Uh, he created a brown dragon of name that was over in the
Ooh.
west, living in
Uh-huh.
the dry steppes, and I kind of
Ah.
co-opted that so somewhat for my old campaign.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know the name of it. I'd have to look it up. I'm pretty sure it was a brown dragon.
Okay. That's interesting. A brown dragon. Is
A
that some earthy
brown
thing
dragon,
or
or maybe it's a yellow dragon. Brown dragon, yellow dragon.
yeah?
Yeah, deserty dragon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yes. So all has dragons, of course.
Oh, of course, Ola has dragons.
Mm.
That's yeah. Mm-hmm.
All used to have dragons.
Oh yeah.
It's
Now the the
too
the, the
vicious of a
fierce
place for dragons
warriors
to
of
be.
Ol have killed
Yeah,
them all now. So
yeah,
yeah.
they're all
Mm-hmm.
gone.
Yep.
All
Yep.
the
Mm-hmm.
cons of all.
Yeah. Oh, that's so cool. And yeah, the dragons that I've used, I probably introduced probably about 6 or 7 dragons that I've added to my game. And one of them was named unnamed Rothgor, the green dragon from that one. They've had some encounters with that on the Wild Coast and Gnarly Forest, Rothgor. But one of the dragons that I invented was for my Alyssa campaign. And now I'm going to go into
Puppets.
map mode here. And there is a place here called Black Splinter in Rel Devon, and there is something called that I call the Splinter Marshes.
I
This
heard
is my
good.
campaign map, so this has a lot of extra stuff that is not on the public map. That is from my personal campaign, and Black Splinter is a prince. The guy that runs it is a prince, a vampire necromancer, prince of the Great of Reldevin or Great Kingdom, and he runs Black Splinter. And one of his he recruited a black dragon that lives in the Splinter Marshes. That is one of his main guardians, so to speak, of the realm. And it's a female dragon called Ratukash and
Ooh.
Darkspire, and she was a real menace to the players that were around here. And she wanted to play with them and have fun. And she we had one of the most famous dragon encounters. They camped out with on the way to Black Splinter. They camped out here, zoom in, next to the river here, Asail River, and the Ratukash knew they were coming, so she was hiding in the water. But black dragons, they have that ability. They foul water, so he started to smell, and they could see bubbles and dead fish floating up. And the players, they didn't get it. And then after during the night when they had guard, they said now there's like something floating around, and it was like a dead goat, and there were all sorts of stuff, and she bulged up that was half eaten. And then in early wee hours in the morning, then when they went down, then it was so curious, and she kind of waved a little bit, so there was splashes in the water, and they came down to watch it. Then she attacked, and the first thing she did, she grabbed one of them and hauled it down in the ground underwater. And that was one of the epic dragon fights we've had in our. And Ratukash, she killed 2 of them by drowning them, and then she fled. And that was one of the. But one of the other dragons that I've used that I've only showed in my campaigns is that I have 2 abyssal dragons that he has as his guardians of Doraka. So he has a pair, a male and a female, a pair of abyssal dragons that is the guardians of Doraka, old worms, and they are nasty as hell. And that's one of the things that kind of
That's fun.
yeah. So they kind of yeah. So near Doraka, he has them as his guardians of the area around. So and it's basically to keep it safe from other dragons coming in in, and his some of his tops. So those are no, sorry, they are shadow dragons with the abyssal template. That's the, yeah, shadow dragons of the abyssal temp with the abyssal template. So that's my kind of prominent dragons in my campaign, and then I have a couple of silver and a couple of gold dragons in my campaign, and a red dragon too. I've added a red dragon that recently moved into Rift Canyon near Dragotha's lair, and that is kind of capitalize on the border conflicts and stuff there too. So she's kind of carving out a little niche for herself in that area. So those are some of the dragons that I've used in my campaigns. Okay, what do we have any? Now we babbled
Yeah,
dragons for a bit. That
actually,
interesting
Brian
question.
has
Yeah.
spotted some gold dragons that are
Hmm.
named in canon, but I'd like to point out that if puppets is one of the best sources for gold dragon lore,
Oh yes.
sad, sad.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Treasures of Greyhawk, yeah, I don't remember Nesfar, but I really wish Treasures of Greyhawk isn't one of my favorite books. I wish it was better, but it's got some okay
Yeah.
characters in it.
Hmm.
Uh, what
Oh,
else we got
then
here?
we
We have
have
one of Child's Play. So who
Sturgis.
knew?
And yeah, Gary says that we played Dungeons and Sturgis is this kind of, yeah, the big mosquitoes that sucks you dry, so to speak. So yeah.
Yeah, I haven't used dragons yet in fifth edition Bavix.
Ah, okay, yeah.
Yeah, it might be
The breath
interesting.
weapons are horrifying. Okay, yeah, I've played in 5e games, but I haven't run any 5e
Uh,
games, and I haven't encountered any dragons in 5e either. So yeah. Mm-hmm.
hmm.
Oh, Shackled City, created by the
Ooh,
Spellweavers,
another.
named
Huh.
Karak Cool. That
Ooh.
sounds vaguely familiar. Let's see if I go down to and see. There is a. Let's see here.
Well, if it was on the Paizo maps, you probably have it.
Yeah, we'll see here. I think there was some sort of
Yeah,
dragon lair down
Belcher,
here. Yeah. Hook face. Yep. Hang on a second here.
Hookface.
Yep, we have a dragon lair down here. It's Hook face. It's near Cauldron and Shackled City, so it's down close here. So yeah, that's the dragon in this area. Yeah, Hookface was the red. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Good catch. Yep. Thank you.
So yeah, they're out there. I guess you just gotta
Mm-hmm.
really dig deep.
Yeah.
The
And
ones that
you
really jump out at you that are iconic are can count on one hand, basically.
Yep.
Maybe that's a good thing. I don't know.
Well, if you have it realistic, you can't have that too many dragons because that would
Yeah.
kind of overwhelm an area and kill everything and
Yeah.
everyone. So yeah.
I just think if you're comparing it to Forgotten Realms, I know that Ed Greenwood in his articles in Dragon Magazine used to really go out of his way to really detail these dragons and give them backstories and names and all this stuff. And I always thought that was cool. And I wish
Yeah.
Greyhawk had more storied dragons
Yeah.
than except other than random encounter dragons, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, yeah. That's what I try to give all the dragons that I've used in my campaign. They've had kind of backstories. They fit
Yeah.
into the general. They have a mission, or they're there to thwart someone, or they're hired by someone, or they're carving out a niche, so to speak. And they also affect hundreds of miles. Meaning a great worm, they will affect maybe 500 miles around them. They can control because that's what they can fly within a day or so. So they can kind of come from nowhere almost at any time, and so they're kind of really powerful creatures. Yeah.
Uh,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I don't know. Age of Worms had some young dragons in it, I recall,
Yeah.
in the Cairn Hills, somewhere around Diamond Lake, and there were some young dragons
Yeah.
early on in that adventure.
Yeah. Even young dragons will be a menace to have around. A few of them, and they're really nasty. Yeah.
Gem dragons, never heard of them.
I've heard of gem dragons, never used them. Yep.
I do know that there's mist dragons in the South
Yes.
Seas.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's another one that is kind of really cool. And then you have various sea dragons and that are kind of eel-like things, and then you have all the dragonkins like the wyverns or wyverns or
Mm.
and others that are kind of half dragon or dragon-like. The ones that don't have four
Um,
paws, they only have claws on their
okay.
wings and stuff. So yeah.
Well, okay. Our Draco says Age of Worms doesn't count because it ignores Bandit Kingdom's canon from Eyes of Evil. That's
Oh,
true.
okay.
It's
Yeah,
true.
that's interesting. Yeah.
But
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of stuff you could run with on that. Maybe not the, stuff about the cities and whatnot, but once you venture out into the wilderness, there's, with the giant city and the Rift Canyon, and, I think there's got to be some useful stuff in there.
Yeah.
um,
Okay, do
yeah.
we have any more questions and stuff
Yeah,
in here? So,
let's
yeah.
yeah, any direction you want to go, dragons or otherwise.
Yep, yeah, we announced Need Fest, and that's simply our way of saying before we wrap it up that yeah, saying that we need to wish everybody happy Need Fest.
Happy Need Fest.
Yes. Yep.
I hope Santa Cuthbert leaves you plenty of presents under the tree,
Yes, exactly. Yep. So
and that
lots.
the Grumsh doesn't steal your toys while you're asleep.
And that you get out and go on lots of cool adventures and stuff from now on up until Needfest and yep.
Oh boy!
Yep.
I just thought of another cold region that I didn't bring
Oh,
up
okay. Yep.
because I thought it didn't really count. But collectively, the areas of Blackmore and all that in the north is called the Bitter North,
Yes, exactly. That's the
like
yep.
bitter cold.
hmm
But I thought that would be redundant to talk about the same
Yeah,
places that.
yeah, but that was yeah, this
Yeah.
area. So, yep, that's it's the region of the bitter north. Yep.
Bavix, where the hell did you read that Dragotha was a black dragon? And what kind of
Okay.
that's some heresy for certain.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Maybe I don't know. I'm not sure what type of dragon
It
Dragofa
had to
was.
be 2006. I wonder if that was something like post Paizo, like fourth edition E Dungeon magazine. You know, that sounds like something they would do.
Yeah, and Gary asks, is Hyboria on my maps? And no, not yet. But there is. I'm actually thinking about some doing maps of the entire world, so to speak. So I'm kind of working a little bit on them. So here is an interesting projection that I think could work. This is actually equirectangular oblique. It's a projection that I've found of all the projections. One
That's a
that
good one.
that that can actually work to depict the Earth world map in this projection because you get all the continents. It's the one here are a little bit screwed up here, but apart from that, they are fairly accurately put. And this is just my working version of it so I can figure out where the Flanies is. But it's interesting to see how much of the northern continent, and now I don't have any southern continent here, and that's another one to start thinking about to put them in. So this is just my way of figuring out where the Flanies is and how much of Weiric, and then we have to start placing the other ones. But when I worked around various projections, this one is the one I love more than anything to depict a world map of Earth because you have all of the continents are kind of in a coherent mass, and you get also all the oceans that connects them. You can kind of travel and show routes worldwide on the same map. So this is a projection that I kind of almost fell in love with in order to present Earth. So if I do a world map of Earth, I would kind of like to have a projection like this. This is one of my that I like. Yeah. And Rheinglade said, "Is there a world beyond the Flanies?" I don't think so. Yes, there is a big world beyond the
But
Flanies.
is there life out there?
Yes, exactly. Is there life out there? And according to those
Too
very
much.
few sources, there are plenty of life around. And if we
Too
look at
much.
it, the Flanies is basically this little bit here that is roughly somewhere between 5 and 10% of the probably more like 5% of the planet of the land mass of Earth is on the Darlene map or on my map is roughly about 5% of it. And that means that 95% is out there. And if you look at Uerik, you have an enormous landmass just the eastern part of Uerik here, and then you have this enormous area out here that is more than
Hmm.
5,000 miles across, and it's simply it's big as the Pacific Ocean. And this means that there is enormous amount of space here for basically anything. Huge inland deserts. There are mountain ranges that are 5-6 thousand miles long, high, tall, and there and river systems, marshlands, and yeah, practically anything and everything. There is enormous amount of room for things. And then we have the mysterious southern continent that has been talked
Ooh.
about. That was part of the Frank Menser's Kickstarter that he wanted to do. That it's kind of on a hiatus. We don't know if it's going to ever come true
Yeah.
again or
I
not.
don't
So
think it
yeah.
would.
So but that was the southern continent, so to speak. So
Imperia.
yeah, Imperia, exactly. So that was part of it. So it's and there's been various written sources and described a bit and so on. So that's another part of the world. And then we have huge Hepmona land that is the next visit that is fairly detailed. It's the best detailed bit outside of the Flanies by far because it's been detailed in the Scarlet Brotherhood. That was, and they even had a map, a fairly good map of this area too. So that's the next one for me to do. So and then we have Fireland that is Carlos for
Oh
CSL
yeah.
Entertainment. He's done a lot of work on Fireland that is really cool. So that's something we can hopefully look forward to as the so that might in
I
I
might
hope.
go.
Yep. See, yep. So that's another area that after Hipmona Land, that one is a big candidate for expanding my map and cover that. So I have to talk to Carlos and we can see if we can expand my mapping efforts to that. And
Oh, wait.
then, of course, it's mapping west, the Bacloonish
Hmm.
west part here that is outside that Joe Block has done a whole bunch of stuff on the Bacloonish west. And it's kind of it's a bit of a misnomer because the Bacloonish West, when we talk about the Flanies, then we actually mean the eastern area of the Bacloonish. And but so when you talk about the Bacloonish West in kind of a more general sense, then it's the western part of the Bacloonish that you actually
Crazy.
mean. So it's a bit of these kind of misnomers. And then we have this the northern continent up here that is it's kind of interesting. How far north is it? Is it actually connected to the mainland here or not? There are different maps. Some of the original maps I've seen these kind of thumbnail maps, it's a separate entity, but in some other more recent done fan work and others, it's connected to Werrick. So that will be something we have to figure out, but that's years in the future. But so there is an enormous amount of land to dig into that we can do. And when I'm going to map it, I'm not going to put labels on it because there is a lot of there's some ideas from old dragons and stuff with when you have all sorts of names and stuff, but some of them I don't like at all, and I want to make the terrain maps and then people can put whatever labels they want on them. That's will be my general approach to this. And then we have some other things. We have the Sundered Empire that is in some instances depicted to be up here in the northern northwest bit of the continent of Uerik. And it's interesting that they depict
Oh,
the whole northwestern here, and they have countries here that are as big as the whole Flanese, which to me it's kind of unrealistic when you have
I don't like it.
kingdoms that are 10 times the size of the Roman Empire and stuff. So
Blow it up.
yeah, so that's kind of, yeah. So there are some tidbits and various things that I'm trying to
I don't
dig
like
into.
the western part of that mass because just look at it. It's a big blotch. How many
Yeah.
landlocked countries are probably in there?
Well, yeah, it's enormous. You can have
They couldn't just
four
throw an
landlocked
into this.
Flanese in all,
Yeah,
but on the other hand, landlock open up possibilities for huge desert areas in that we don't have in the Flanese. For instance, you can have,
you mean natural deserts
yeah,
because we
exactly,
have plenty of
yeah.
magical deserts
Yeah,
and
but we can have a real
others.
natural desert that is because
Mm,
it's so far away from the coasts and stuff. So you
right.
can have, yeah. So
Yet on the Dragon annual map, the areas that are desert are not in the main mass that I described.
yeah, exactly. And that to me is one of these contradictions that will be hard for me to figure out how I want to do it. So
That's
yeah,
why I say blow it all up, make them into smaller island,
yeah, yeah.
like Hetman land sized areas.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes it much more easy, and it's also easier to map because a continent that is this big that basically spans more than half the planet,
'Cause
it's
the
really
most
tricky. Yeah.
right, the most interesting parts for me are those points. Like there's the one that has the Greenland sized island, and then to the south of it is the same shaped island, but it's busted up in a bunch of little pieces, right?
Yeah.
Then you go a little farther south, and
Yep.
there's another smaller, same shaped
Yep.
triangular
Mm-hmm.
island.
Yep.
Those are the ones that interest me the most.
Yeah. Yeah. The one was bite-sized things that they are big enough to host like 4 or 5 countries easily, but they are manageable size. You can,
Yeah.
and that's interesting with the southern continent here, Imperia, that is sometimes called Antaria, sometimes it's called Imperia, and in other,
Hmm.
it also goes by other names. So there is like I know there's at least 3 different names of it. I forgot there was one name that I put in Realmworks. I can't reach to it, but it has 3 different names at least. And that's also interesting because it is kind of like Hepmona Land. It's a bite-sized, like in
Hmm.
Australia, a little bit bigger than Australia. It's probably twice the size of Australia, which is not small.
Well,
But
Gribbly, we haven't been doing this stream for what, 10 episodes we said at the
mm-hmm,
beginning.
yep.
So you haven't really missed out on a whole lot. Just
And
hang with us
yeah,
going
and
into
they
the
should
stream.
be available on YouTube, if not
Oh,
on Twitch. They should
yeah.
be available in the Greyhawk channel's YouTube stream or YouTube archive of videos. So yep. So that was a quick escape into the rest of the world, so to
Uh,
speak. So it's very rudimentary because there is conflicting. There are few sources and they are highly conflicted. So there's, yeah. So you simply have to make the best. And there are some things that I think are cool and some of the things that I think are terrible. But that's just my personal opinion. And it will be tricky because whatever you do, if I map it when I get there mapping it, is that I will step on someone's toes, and it will be kind of tricky. So we'll see. Yep.
hey, Rad, thanks for joining us.
Yeah. Welcome.
Um, yeah, coming back to Dragons real quick.
Hmm.
I think in the next season, if we can get Shane on here, coming back to Dragons, he runs a fifth edition campaign, and I know the Grok channel in some of their more epic campaigns that like the ones Shane runs, Return to Greyhawk,
Yes, they.
Path of the Plains. He has used fifth edition dragons,
Oh yes, he
and
used one in I think it was 2 episodes ago on
yeah,
Return to Greyhawk campaign. He used an epic
hmm
red dragon, and that
and
was
I
an
think
epic
he
fight.
creates his own. I don't
Yes.
think he's using canon ones. He's made his own.
Yes.
I have to ask him about
Yeah.
his
Yep.
dragon
Hmm.
items.
Yeah, and that was set in the Sea of Dust. That was a
Yeah,
red
he
dragon
runs.
out there. Yeah, in the Forgotten
I
City.
want to say it was like a elemental dragon, like an ash.
That
Was it
might be,
also like an
yeah.
ash dragon or
That
something
might
like
have
that?
been, yeah, because it was really powerful, but
Magma.
they overwhelmed it, and
Yeah.
and killed it, and then they made it into an undead dragon of some sort.
Well, yeah, I can't remember which one I saw, but they killed the dragon and then raised it back from the dead, asked
Hmm.
it some questions, and then killed it again.
Yes. Hmm.
Yeah, that
Yep.
was hilarious.
Yep. That was really cool. Shane as a DM, he rolled so bad that it was, and the
Fortune.
yeah, and chat they put in some tokens and stuff, so it helped the rolls of the players and stuff. So the yep, it was an epic fight. That was fantastic fun.
Rad. If you're asking on how to sell your friends on the World of Greyhawk over Forgotten Realms, then show them the Greyhawk channel. Just sit down,
Yes.
watch Twitch,
Hmm.
watch people play on this campaign, and you'll find out why. I don't know many Forgotten Realm streams out there that are doing what they do. Otherwise, just yeah, listen to the testimonies of people in chat or on the internet,
Hmm.
on blogs.
Yep.
We have a much more active fan community, in my opinion, but I could be wrong. Uh, Anyhow, unless there's any other questions, we're past the second hour of the
Yep. Yep.
show
So
here.
now we have to start wrapping things up, but. And first of all, thank you so much, everyone, for coming. And we also have to have a special thanks because we have some of you have been around for a whole bunch
Oh
of
yeah,
episodes, like Bayvix and Gary Peacemaker,
Phoenix,
and a few of the others have been around for a lot of
Nebbiolo.
episodes. Yes,
Yeah, so many
Nebbiolo.
good
Yep.
guys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and yeah, thank you so much. That's been awesome, and you came with
We
so
hope to
many.
get
Oh, go on.
more people on the show. Like we
Mm-hmm.
had Brian Saracenis last week. We want to get Shane on here.
Yep.
You know, who knows who else might end up on this show
Yep. Yep. We'll,
and share
we
their knowledge.
Yep, we have some guests that we're working on coming on, and I hope that Shane will be on maybe for the first episode of next season. That will we can come on and tie back to some of his campaigns and interrogate him on all the dragon fights and all the other stuff going on, and put some context to it again. Okay. Yep.
Yeah,
So that was it. So now I wish everyone wonderful holidays and Need Fest and a lot of good adventures and get lots of XP and treasure and magic items and everything. So and then we will be back. We haven't set exactly what date and what schedule we will have, but we will be back next year and with a whole
we're working
new.
on it.
Oh yeah, we got one traveling for the holidays. Yeah.
No,
No, I'm not going anywhere for the holidays. My next kind of RPG related would be GaryCon in March. Yep. Okay. So yep. So yep. Now
yeah.
everyone.
Okay.
Yep.
So night,
Night everyone.
again.
Yep.
It was a good time.
Yep. Thank you so
Uh,
much, and we will be
See you
back.
on Discord.
Yes.
See
Mm-hmm.
you on Facebook. See you on Greyhawkery. See you
Yep.
on
Mm-hmm.
GH Maps.
Yep.
You know, see you out there.
Okay. Bye everyone.